Hey everyone, it's Nick with Us versus Her. Today we're going to be going over some tips for doing your taxes, whether you're trading stocks, options, crypto, whatever the case is. We're going to be going over some things. Now, I am not a tax accountant expert by any means. This is not tax advice. This is just showing you what I do. Anything that I do on this channel is something that I actually do myself to kind of, save on costs or ease of use. And this is one of the things. Now, I also don't get any kickbacks. I'm going to show you Turbotax. I don't get any kickbacks or referrals. I'm just doing this because this is what I do. This is what's worked for me. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. So if this video is of value to you at all, hit the like button. Definitely appreciate you. Also, there's links below in the description to our Discord and our options trading group on Facebook. And if you want to learn more about options, link is below to the Us versus Her Academy. So let's get to it. I'm going to share my screen here and show you kind of what works, kind of what to do, what to avoid, and what it actually costs. Now, I do use Turbotax. I mean, for many years, I did have my own accountant, but then I started to look at other options when it was costing me $3 to $5 grand for them to process my tax return because I had so many trades. I mean, I think that was the issue that a lot of us are in, is like, hey, we trade a lot, and the accountant's fees were like going up. I'm like, hey, I'm paying like $3 to $5 grand to the accountant to put in all the trades and organize the trades, when TurboTax actually does it, I wouldn't say for free, but it's a more automated version. Now, before we get into the how-tos and that kind of thing, I do want to show you the differences here on TurboTax's website. And the reason why I use TurboTax is because I import all my trades, and we'll go through that all in a second. Now, if you're doing your own taxes, which a lot of people are, they do have an option that you can do it yourself, or as you can see here, you can have their tax experts help you. Of course, it's going to be additional fee. Now, because you are actually going to be handling investments such as stocks or options or crypto, you're going to have to pay at least the $90. You have to be in the Premier version. So Premier and self-employed. Now, you can start this for free. You don't have to pay anything, and then you go through their walkthrough, and you answer a bunch of questions like, hey, are you single? Are you married? Do you own a house? Did you buy or sell a house? Are you self-employed? Are you not self-employed? Do you work for a company? That you go through this whole questionnaire, and then they actually put you in one of these things. And then one of the questions is like, hey, did you invest in any stocks or options? Did you get any dividends? If you say yes, it automatically puts you into like Premier or self-employed. They do charge a minimum $90, which again is way better than the $3,000 to $5,000 that I was paying with an accountant. Now, if you're like, hey, I don't really know what to do, you can see you can also look at the features here as well, the difference between Deluxe and Premier and all that. Now, if you're like, I need a little extra help, sure, you can also get Premier with their accounting help. They'll answer your questions. I actually don't use the service because it's actually their service is pretty intuitive. And when you're going through the process, if you do have questions, you can always add it on. So the Premier version, if you want this version, if you want help from one of their experts, going to cost you a minimum of $170. They do charge you additional to file your state taxes as well. So, you can kind of go through this, but, they'll show you. I don't use it because I can figure it out. I'll show you here in a second, how to import that. Now, the biggest thing for me is because when I get my tax return, or not the tax return, but the 1099s and all that from like TD Ameritrade or Tastyworks or Robinhood or webull, whatever broker you're with, I mean, it's like this. You're like, oh man, all these trades I did the whole year. Now, when you get into TurboTax, I'm actually the version that I qualify for is the TurboTax Self-Employed 2020. Once you start filing your taxes, they actually hook up with a lot of vendors that you already use, like most of the big vendors. I mean, as you can see here, this is what I've used in the past, so it's pulled it here, but you can pull in Schwab, TD Ameritrade, Webull, Robinhood, Tastyworks, And if it's not shown here, you could actually just search here for your bank, whether you're for a bank or for you. I don't have it here, but like Fidelity, pretty much anybody, or you can see more here, and they'll show you. They got Acorns, Wells Fargo. I mean, whoever else. I don't know do they have Stash. I don't have Stash. If they don't have your broker in here like Stash or somebody that they do have like Acorn, you most likely got something from Apex. If you got a form from Apex Clearing Corp, you can actually import right from Apex, and a lot of brokers do use Apex. Like Tastyworks uses Apex. You can import directly from Tastyworks, but the clearing firm that a lot of people use is Apex. So if check your documents, the tax documents that you got in from your broker. If you got an Apex clearing form statement, you can use the Apex. As you can see here, I've used it in the past because I didn't find it here. You could use the Apex clearing form, clearing corp here. Now, when you click on these, you'll be prompted for your sign-in information, and then it'll sign into your account and then attempt to import your tax documents and trades. Now, there's a couple things here, especially with Tastyworks, that you want to be mindful for. Okay, if you're on Tastyworks, there's a whole. I mean, I'll go over Robinhood too, but Tastyworks has a whole thing on how to import and all this stuff. The important thing here for online, most people, I guarantee you, most people are going to be using the online version. You're most likely not going to be using the desktop version. In here, let me see if I could blow this up here. Let me see if I can blow this up real quick so we can see what it says here. So, okay, so I blow it up here. So importing Tastyworks requires TurboTax Premier or better. So, like I said, I already covered it under the comparing TurboTax. You need the Premier version, so that way you can import. It's one of the features here. Is it covers stocks, options, bond, ESPPs, and other investments such as options and crypto. Now, there are transaction limits when importing your transaction data with TurboTax Online and TurboTax CD download software. TurboTax Online has 1,500 transaction limit. TurboTax downloadables or the CD has a 2,000 transaction limit. So, if you're like a lot of people and you have to have sales volumes of less than 10 million. So if you're like a lot of people that you're just scalping, doing tons of trades, and you exceed this limit, which I did last year. I did last year. I'm pretty sure I did in 2020 as well. I haven't filed my 2020 taxes yet, but in 2019 exceeded the limit. If you exceed this limit, the nice thing about TurboTax is they'll actually put all your trades that were imported that weren't put into the system. They'll actually give you a sheet with instructions like, hey, here's all your trades that you did in 2019. Stick them in an envelope and mail them to this address. So that's a nice thing. So even though, let's say you're over the limit, TurboTax will count what your profit or loss was for the year, and then they'll compile all the forms needed to send to the government agencies, most likely your state, right? So you'll have to send to the state, like here, state, whatever state you live in. These were all my trades. This is they'll give you everything that you need. You sign it, you ship it off. You could do a certified mail, whatever makes you comfortable. But that's the nice thing. So if you have less than 1,500, it's going to import it real nice and easy. You'll say, you might want to check your forms. Make sure when you import it that everything is correct. Like, make sure your P&L is correct. Make sure, because sometimes you never know with the importing and the technology that something's wrong. Like, they might say, hey, you made a lot more than you thought you did. Double check the form, and they'll ask you on TurboTax, like, hey, is this box the same as the box that you have? Is box A better, the same as box A that on your form? Is box B, and so on. So you'll double check your work. So if you import, easy. If you're over the transaction limit, it's okay. You can still use this, and they'll still organize it, which will help you bypass the fee. So, for me, not paying $3 to $5 grand, and even though I'm over the transaction limit, most likely in 2020, I was in 2019, 2020, most likely over the transaction limit, they're still going to, import it they're still going to organize my trades nicely so that way I can mail it off and ship it out. But then the main thing is accounting for your trades easily, making sure you get it to the right people if you're over the transaction limit. And then if you're not over the transaction limit, man, easy breezy, click import, verify the boxes, verify your P&L, verify everything that's on there, and you're good to go. And then it'll automatically, since I haven't filed yet or anything, it'll automatically say, hey, are you going to get a refund? Start saying yes or no. You're going to have to pay, that kind of thing. So they also have, most brokers, a lot of people watching this are probably on Robinhood, Tastyworks, TD Ameritrade. They will have some how-to instructions, but like I said, if you get to this screen here where you're under income and taxes, they'll import it. It's going to be super simple for you. I mean, and this is what I use, and this is what I recommend. Like, again, I don't get any money from from TurboTax or anybody. I'm just making a video about stuff that I use. So if you found this useful, leave a comment, let me know, hit the like button, and as always, stay safe, stay green. It's us versus herd.